It took us like 6 weeks, I think. Then we got into a relationship. We sort of fell in love and everything happened very quickly. And of course, it was a lockdown, so everything was very exacerbated by that. When we got together, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. It was very intense. It was very passionate. It was very familiar. And it was very charged. I was very confused by all of those feelings. And I thought, wow, like I've never felt this way before. This must be something really significant. Like maybe we're soulmates. Like what is this? The twist is that he was still in love with 2 of his ex-girlfriends. And so began a love triangle between me and one of them. And he would regularly play us, not necessarily against each other, but we would be aware that the other one was there and that he kind of was going to have to choose one of us eventually because everyone was monogamous and, everyone wanted to be chosen. And so we were in this kind of weird triangular game of being like, okay, well, is he going to choose me or is he going to choose the other one? And what I didn't realize at the time is that what was showing up in that relationship was also showing up in my business. And it was a lot of the same fundamental patterns that were causing a lot of pain in these 2 different areas of my life. So 2020 and 2021 were 2 of the hardest years I experienced also, following 2019. So it's just like a real rough patch. Hit my Saturn return in 2020. And so that really didn't help. As we get to the end of 2020, we broke up and I decided to move back to Bali when the borders had just opened. I get back in. I have this new boyfriend. I have my friends. We're all living together. It's great. And somehow we kind of get roped back into a conversation. At this point in time, he was living in the US. I think it's because I had money in his fund. And so he had sent me an update. He sent an update to all of his investors saying, this has now gone up and we're entering a bull run and it's really exciting and here's what I'm planning. And so I think we then got on a phone and ended up being on the phone for about 3 hours talking about the markets. Now, this is a man that had fundamentally shaped my business and investing journey, which didn't really exist before him. He taught me so many things about money, so many things about money mindset, helped me become a global citizen, helped me understand like how to optimize everything in my life, from technology to my marketing funnels to even looking at how I could retire early and make all of my dreams come true. So a really big influence on me in many, many ways. And, the cost was all of the pain that came from this weird love triangle that we were in, which I couldn't handle, but also kept getting roped back into. So 2021 became a journey of 2 things that I was pursuing. One, relationally, I wanted him to choose me. I really convinced myself that we would have this like happily ever after in my head and that, we'd be soulmates. We kind of like ride off into the sunset and be this like really cute travel couple or something to that extent. And then the other thing that I was pursuing was the $1 million. I'd finally gotten my ads running. I'd finally built this funnel. I was launching. Things started to look really promising. And I thought this is going to be the year. This is going to be my $1 million year. So I'm pursuing these 2 things pretty aggressively, thinking, yeah, he's going to pick me because it's so obvious. Like, of course, we're going to end up together. And I even started working with a facilitator who I would screenshot, our text messages and I would send them to him and be like, he said this, what do I do? What's my next move? How do I play this? And I started gaming my ex-boyfriend, learning a lot about what works and what doesn't with different people. We get to a point where finally I think, okay, I'm definitely winning. He's going to pick me. Because he was in America and he was either going to fly to her, she was in Portugal, or he was going to fly to me in Bali. Again, we're navigating closed borders, restrictions, all these kinds of things. And then he turns around and he picks her. And I was so shocked and mortified because everything up until that point was pointing to me as the very obvious choice. So then he's like, yeah, I'm going to fly to Portugal. So I broke up with him, blocked him, said I was never going to speak to him again. And within a day or maybe 2 or 3 days of me making that declaration, he then comes back with this big letter telling me that I'm his soulmate and it was always me. And of course it was me. And it was like 8 pages of letter. And at this point, I'm like, no, that's crazy. If you need me to like take my cards off the table for you to choose me, then it doesn't count. Like, it's too late. Several months pass. I'm processing, I'm healing, and I then get a message through our business conversations. And the message update is, your portfolio is now worth $2 million. Mind you, I had originally put in about $280,000 altogether, which was my entire life savings. And I had an apartment in Melbourne that I sold. Any money from the business that I had made, I had funneled into that fund. And so during that bull run of 2021, he had basically almost 7x'd my investment. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. I'm retiring. I'm 29 or 28 and I get to retire. This is amazing. Oh my God, this is brilliant. And I sit with that thinking about, what am I going to do with it? And I have this realization, which is that, hey, shouldn't this feel better? Shouldn't this feel more of an accomplishment? Because it's not, when you kind of finally become a millionaire, considering this is something I've been pursuing for such a long time, I thought that this would feel different. And it's kind of empty and shallow and, it's weird. And I was just very anticlimactic. So I'm, trying to think about what to do with it. Maybe we'll withdraw it, And, either I was waiting too long or, we were disagreeing on him being okay with me taking it all out and then him actually not having a relationship with me anymore, because that was kind of our last tie and our last connection to each other. And I think he really wanted to have me still be very financially codependent on him because it made him feel needed and wanted and significant in his own way. I kept everything in the fund. And then on the 9th of May in 2021, there was an event, as they say in the crypto world, a cascading liquidation of everything. Conspiracy theories about who came in and messed the markets up. But ultimately, what you need to know is that his $60 million fund was liquidated down to $2 million overnight. My $2 million went down to about $40,000 overnight. And it wasn't that the value of a coin had gone down and that it would eventually go back up. When you liquidate, you have a forced sell. So nothing was coming back. That was it. He'd lost millions overnight. He was shattered. I was obviously shattered and experiencing all of the stages of grief, which I had never really any experience in up until that point. So he calls me and explains to me what's happened. My very first reaction was to comfort him and see if he's okay. Oh my God, you've got 200 investors. This must be so hard for you. Again, our very typical pattern that we were in back then. He explains how I can help myself navigate the grief. I decide to go on a quest of sorts, a spiritual pilgrimage. And I go, okay, cool. I'm going to go somewhere very remote and I'm going to just think about what I'm going to do, because I've spent my whole life pursuing this money so that I can finally be an artist. And now I don't have anything. Is the lesson in this whole thing that you shouldn't have ever pursued the money and that you should have just always gone straight for the artistry, and that you just, trust that the net will appear underneath you and that if you just start going for it, then eventually it'll happen? Is that the lesson that I needed to learn? What's the universe trying to teach me here?